Alright, we're going to start by marking our pleats on our bodice, and I'm going to be using glass head pins so that I can iron over them. To do your pleats, you're going to mark all of these lines on your bodice. I have my pleat lines marked on the pattern, and I marked my notches with just pins instead of drawing a line. Alright, so you're going to take this line and you're going to meet it up with this line here. And you're going to take this line right here and you're going to lay it on top of this line over here. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to do this pleat to this pleat. So this line to this line. Same way. The same way. Going towards the center. So, okay. It's different than the other pleats. You're going to take these two and you're going to match them together, wrong sides together, like that. And put a pin in there. Okay, you can take the other two pins out, and then you're going to do the same for the bottom. So it should look something like this. And then you have this pleat pinned like this in the center. There's your center front. Okay? Then you're going to take and lay it down, and you're going to, in the directions it says to sew right here, but I'm not going to do that step because I don't. You're just going to push this open. So you're like creating a little pleat here. So take this and you're going to push it open like that. So it's like this, and you're just going to match your center to that pin that you lined up with your notches. Okay. So the top is done, and you're going to do the same thing for the bottom. You're you're going to take your pleat, and it's matched up here or sewn if you sewed it, and you're going to just open it out like that. Okay, like that, and then pin it. Like that. Okay. Like another side. Okay, now that that's pressed, we're just going to run a row of stitches along the bottom and the top to secure the pleats. So to prepare your lining, you just need to add 2 rows of gathering stitches about 1 inch on either side of the center. Okay, and it should look something like that. Now we're going to prepare our sleeve. I'm going to start with the 2 longer ones, the bigger ruffles. Okay. We're going to start by hemming our ruffles. Wrinkles out. The curved side, we're going to just roll up 1/4 of an inch and then another 1/4 of an inch, creating our hem. Okay, now we're just going to hem this edge from the top side of the fabric and pull it back. It should look something like this. Let me give it a press to help it lay flatter. Okay. Now, if you want to add the lace, at this point is when you would do that. I'm not going to be adding any lace to mine, but if you want to add lace, you would just pin it within on the edge here after you've hemmed it, and then you can just sew it down all the way across. Okay. Alright, and you're just going to repeat this for the other ruffle, the other big ruffle, and for the 2 smaller ruffles. Okay, now that you have your sleeve ruffles hemmed, you're going to take the bigger sleeve and you're going to lay it out on the table, and you're going to take the smaller sleeve ruffle and lay it on top of the bigger one. So it's going to be the wrong side to the right side. Wrong side to right side. So match up your center points and then just attach it all the way across. Okay, and then once you have it all pinned, you're going to take and you're going to run 2 rows of basting stitches the longest length possible so that you can gather this to go into the bodice. Okay, now we're going to move on to the ties. Okay, now we're going to move on to the ties, and you're going to place them right sides together. Cut that one in a hurry. Okay, now that you have your ties sewn together, we're going to give them a press to set your stitches. Now we're going to trim the seam allowance down and notch the point. Then you can flip it. Then you can flip it inside or right side out. And then we're going to press it. Okay, and once you get it pressed, you're going to do the same for the other side. Okay, moving on to the modesty panel on the back. You're going to place it right sides together. Okay. And then pin this edge and the top edge, leaving the two sides free. This edge, and we're going to sew this edge. Then we're going to trim our seam allowances down by half and flip it through and press it. We're going to move on to our bodice. So you should have 4 side back panels. And you're going to take and match up your shoulder seams. And this got some discoloration. Okay, it's better. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for the lining, which is right here. Alright, and then we're going to just sew the shoulder seams at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're going to press our shoulder seams open on both the outer and the liner. Now taking the front bodice, if you're putting in the ruffle sleeve, that's what we're doing now. You're going to lay out your bodice, right side up. Okay, and we're going to take our ruffle sleeve, and we're going to find our center point, which is right there. And just pin that or clip that in place. And then we're going to just gather our sleeve in. Okay, and once you have that all pinned in place along the outside arm, once you get that all pinned in place, you just want to baste that in place with a long stitch length and repeat for the other side. So we're going to place the tie on the right side of the front bodice on the side back panel. So, and you should have you should have notches to help you line it up. So you're going to take the bottom of your tie and line it up to this notch right here. Okay, and pin that. Then do the same for the other side. Okay, and if you're going to include the modesty panel on your dress, you're going to want to take your modesty panel and you're going to baste it to the left side back panel. So you're going to line it up. Find our centers of our front bodice. So just find that. Okay, and then we're going to line up our lining to the outer bodice. Okay, then we're going to line up our neckline. Okay, if you need to adjust your lining to fit, just pull these little gathering stitches. Some fabrics okay, matching up our notches here. And then again at the bottom here. Okay, now we're going to match up the bottom seam of your side back panels, and you're going to tuck your modesty panel and your tie up out of the way so you don't accidentally catch that. If you want, you can just like clip it to keep it out of the way. And then you're going to match up the notch over here, and this is going to be where you stop stitching. Let me just get a little closer. So there's a notch there. And you're going to stitch from here to this point, and then you're going to stop stitching. Okay, Okay, and we're going to do that for the other side too. So there's our outer piece and our tie. I'm going to pin mine up out of the way. Okay, so when we're sewing, we're going to start over here on the left as you're looking at the bodice. You're going to start here, you're going to sew all the way along through here, and you're going to pivot at this notch, and you're going to sew all the way up, pivoting at the square neck point, all the way across, pivoting here, and coming all the way back around. When you get to the notch on the right side, right here, this notch right there, you're going to stop stitching and you're going to back stitch and you're going to leave this open and you're not going to stitch this closed, and you're going to come down here to this notch here at the bottom and you're going to stitch from here all the way across here. But this is not going to be sewn. So I like to mark this with a different kind of pin so I don't accidentally forget. And I'm just going to mark that there so that I know to break my stitching here and then pick it back up down here at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to sew all through here, up, pivot, pivot, all the way down, stop, leave this open, and then sew the bottom closed. Okay, so now that that is done, you are going to clip into your neckline and trim your seam allowances. So just clip into, but don't go through your stitching on your neckline. And then your back should still be free at this point on the right side. This is the left side. Right here. It should still be open and unsewn here. Okay, so we're just going to understitch this now. Sides, okay, and then we're going to take this pin out here. And we're going to press along this bottom edge. Okay. And then for our modesty panel, we're going to take it to this side and so here is the right side that's undone, and then over here you have your modesty panel. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to tuck your modesty panel in to this side here. Like this. And then pin it in place. You're just going to be tucking it in about like 5/8 of an inch in. You're just your seam allowance. If you're not using the modesty panel, then you can skip all of this and your bodice should be done. And you can work on the skirt. You can skip to the skirt part. Okay, just gonna flip it over and check it on this side. Okay, so you're just going to tuck it in and pin it in place with the tie going this way, and we're just going to top stitch it down in within the seam allowance. And that's the front, and the inside looks like that. Okay. This bottom edge is completely finished at this point. Start with your bodice right sides up, and we're going to take the lining and we're going to fold it out like this without moving our top, so that we see the shoulder seam here on the lining. This is our outer and this is our ruffly sleeve. Okay, now we're going to take the other side of the bodice and we're going to roll this up nice and tight, and I'm going to roll it all the way over until it is on top of this lining piece. Okay, now we're going to roll this side up, the sleeve ruffle, so that it's in here as well. Like that. Now we're going to take our shoulder seam and we're going to match it up with our shoulder seam over here. And then we're going to clip that together. And we're going to work all the way down and clip all the way down the arm. Just be sure that you push your ruffle in really good so you don't catch it in your seam allowance. When you have your armhole all pinned up, we're going to sew along this edge with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're going to clip our curves and then pull it through. Okay, and then that's what it should look like when you pull it through. So there's the outside, and there's the inside of your armhole. Now, just take this time to remove any basting stitches that you can see. Trim this off. Okay, there we go. Now the bodice is finished. Well, the sleeves are finished. Okay, now your bodice should look something like this. This is the outside. This is the inside. So we're gonna give these a little press, and then we'll move on to finishing our side seams. Okay, and now we're going to work on the front bodice some more. So we're gonna put our bodice on your ironing board. Get this out. And we're gonna press up this bottom edge of your bodice lining. Only the lining, not the outer. And we're gonna press it up by 5/8 of an inch. Okay. And now we're going to finish off our side seams. So with your bodice laying right sides up, you're going to open out the front bodice like that. Okay, so here's your lining, and here is your outer. Lining, outer. Okay. Then we're going to take our back bodice and we're going to bring it down. We're going to line up the underarm seams. Seam allowance going down and the ruffle going up. Ruffle goes up, seam allowance down, and match up the arm. That. Then we're going to take, this should be unsewn here, and you're going to line it up with this edge of your lining. Okay, so it should look like this. Okay, and then we're going to sew that with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we have that edge sewn, we're going to trim our seam allowance down, and we're going to trim this underarm area to reduce some of this bulk. And you're going to do the same for the other side. Okay, now that our sleeves are done, we're going to work on attaching the skirt to the bodice. So you're going to start by taking your bodice and putting, we're only going to work with the outer bodice, we're not going to work with the lining, so push that up in there out of the way. And then you're going to attach, let's see, right sides together, matching up the center. So you have that pinned to the bodice lining only, and then the lining and the back is free, and you're just going to sew that at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now that we've sewn that, we are going to iron our seam allowance up into the bodice. And smooth our tie out of the way. So it would look like. Okay, now we're going to work on the back skirt. So we're going to take and place your skirt right side down on the ironing board, and you're going to fold over at the notch, which is 1.5 inches. Okay, now we're going to open that back out, and we're going to fold it down a 1/2 inch. And this is going to form the casing that our elastic will fit into. Okay, now we're going to take this and we're going to top stitch this at a 1 inch from the top side, so 1 inch from this edge. Okay, that's done. We're going to take some elastic and we're going to cut it. Let's see. Hold on. 13 inches. And you're just going to slide that into your casing and then baste it into the seam allowance. Okay, Now that we've done that, we're going to attach our back skirt to our dress. So we're going to Okay, now that we have that sewn, we're going to trim our seam allowance down. And now we're going to iron the seam to one side. Then you're going to flip it inside out. And we're going to press up that seam to create our French seam. And we're going to sew that with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and your French seam is now complete. No raw edges, so you can put this inside out or right side out. And and this is what the back should be looking like at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my seam allowance, my lining together. So I pinned all of that down, my lining to the seam allowance on the front waistband, or the front waist seam. Now you can switch these pins over to the front and then you can stitch in the ditch here of the seam, or you can slip stitch it closed. I'm gonna just hand sew it closed so that it's easier to unpick if I need to do alterations. And then we'll move on to attaching the ruffle. Okay, now we're going to work on the bottom ruffle. So you're going to place your fabric wrong sides together. And we're going to do French seams here too. We're going to trim our seams, press them to one side, and then Now that those are all sewn, we're going to flip it right sides out and find the top of your tier. I marked mine by just clipping the centers. Okay. Flip this one. Find my center, so I'm going to remark it. Now we need to gather this edge so that we can attach it to the skirt, the dress's skirt. So we're going to gather this so that we can attach it to the dress. Okay. You can run 2 rows of basting stitches and then tie them together like we did with the sleeve, but I'm going to use shearing elastic because it's much quicker. I have put 1 row of shearing elastic at the top of my tier. This with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to steam it. Okay. All right, then I'm going to get my skirt. And go like this. Oh, actually, so you're going to turn your skirt or your dress inside out first. We're going to be attaching this with French seams too. Okay. I have my centers marked with little snips. I'm just going to put pins in to make it a little easier. And then I'm going to push my French seams to the back of the dress. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my tiers and find my center point. There's my side seam. My side seam and the center. Okay, now that that's all attached, we're going to sew it with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now our ruffle is attached, and we need to trim our seam allowances down. And if you decide to use the shearing elastic, you have to make sure that you cut the elastic out or your dress will hang wrong. It will still be elasticated. I'm just going to cut that out. Okay, once you have that all trimmed up, you're just going to give it a press. So you pin like this, right sides together. And we're going to sew that with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around the tier. Okay, and that's what it looks like when you're done. And we're going to flip it out, right side out. Actually, I'm going to press it first. Okay, the dress is now complete. We just have to do the hem. I'm going to try mine on and make sure that the 1.5 inch hem allowance is going to be all right for me. And then we'll hem the dress. Alright, I tried my dress on, and instead of doing the 1.5 inch hem allowance, I'm just going to do 1 inch. I'm just going to eyeball it, I think. So I'm going to go and press it around at 1 inch. Okay, now I've pressed it up 1 inch, and I'm going to go back and just press it under 1/2 inch. Okay, so once you hem your dress, just give it a final press, and then you're all done.